conversation. I do want to be finished by 7:30, but we have the space until 8 if you want to stay and chat.
Yeah.
Until then,
I love that.
You're welcome here.
We have goodie bags.
We have goodie bags, yes. So first of all, thank you so much, Zhanna, for the incredible presentation and meditation.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to personally plug Zhanna's courses. They are amazing. And so, yeah, check her out. So for those of you who have been trickling in, first of all, no worries, traffic is crazy today, and it's just a crazy day. So you're not late, you're perfectly on time. And but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Zhanna, and I'm a life coach for ambitious, high-achieving women who want to get out of their heads and out of this perfectionism and connect with their feminine energy to create more flow, more abundance, more sustainable success in their lives in a way that feels really good from the inside out instead of getting caught in the achievement, just this success ladder. So it's learning how to just feel at home with yourself. And so today's little mini workshop is going to be an overview, crash course, condensed version of all my favorite things taken from one of my digital programs called Let It Happen, with a little bit of my signature program, which is Wild Synchronicity, which is really focused on menstrual cycle awareness and really leveraging our feminine energy in the different phases to be more productive. And so you get a little sneak peek of everything. Since we are all women here, I do love keeping it real. I love girl talk, and I love, just accepting the fact that we are very complicated human beings, and that's not something to feel crazy about. It's something to embrace. And so I'm also going to be sharing a little bit of my personal story sprinkled in because, as I was saying before, I'm pregnant with my first baby, and so this pregnancy has obviously completely shifted my priorities in life and my energy and everything. It's been just the most crazy thing, and it's influenced a lot of my work as well. So we're going to be talking about a combination of mindset, so really segueing off of what Zhanna was teaching us, specifically overcoming fear and identifying the specific fears that we may or may not be aware of that are in our heads holding us back. Because whenever I meet or talk with one of my friends or meet a new woman like you, who from the outside, can we all just admit we're all almost intimidatingly awesome? Like when everyone was going around introducing themselves, I was like, you're the most amazing person ever. But we don't see that in ourselves, right? We are our own worst enemies. And when I ask a woman, what's holding you back from really just either going for it or even accepting the fact that you already have it and just letting yourself be happy, the answer is usually, I get in my own way, or I'm the thing holding me back. It's either myself or it's lack of resources like time or money, which you can rearrange your life to have more time and money, but it's more complicated and difficult to actually get out of your own way. So we're going to be talking and identifying a couple of the fears. I'm going to be teaching you the 2 core fears that we all struggle with. And I'm also going to be giving you a quick overview into energy alignment, which is on the flip side of the handout. So we're going to be starting with the front side of the journal prompts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe not one.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to keep staring at somebody else.
And feel free to interrupt me. I do get pregnancy brain and just totally start rambling and lose my train of thought as well, which I'm just going to own. It's all good. Zhanna's teaching me how to be okay with non-linear thinking and with, not being super structured. Okay, so going inward, this is the number one thing I've been learning on this journey. So I've been on a journey of trying to make a baby for almost 2 years now at this point. It's been a really crazy process that has taught me a lot about myself. And most of all, I love analyzing my life and drawing meaning from life experiences. That's just my personality. And the bigger shift that's been happening to me through this process has been a shift from an outward focus. I've always been very ambitious. I've always been a high achiever, perfectionist, type A. I've always loved setting goals and achieving goals and feeling successful, you know, from the outside. But I've been learning how to shift from this outward, linear, focused version of success more into an inward focused use of my energy and definition of success. And I will share last spring, I lost my first pregnancy. I had a miscarriage. And then this summer, I just took the summer for me. It was like the summer of me, of healing, I went to Tony Robbins, I met Zhanna, a group of amazing badass women. It's like, I'm just like gonna be me. And my biggest fear when we started trying to get pregnant again was that I wouldn't be able to grow my business and achieve all of my personal goals at the same time as growing a baby and starting a family. There was like this big conflict in my head because for so long, my business was my baby for several years, and I was attached to this definition of success that meant constant growth, income progression, growing my followers, growing my email list, creating new programs, taking on more clients. And I knew that having a baby obviously is a giant transition where I wouldn't be able to focus on myself. I would need to be focused on someone else. And I was afraid that my business was just going to fall apart, and I was going to lose focus, and lose my drive, lose my ambition, and you're going to be broke, and I was just going to get, it's like, it spirals. And so it's kind of funny. Then I decided to take one of Zhanna's courses called The Art of Receiving, because I knew I needed to learn how to receive and not just like try and control things. And I took her course, I just like absorbed her energy, I did meditations. And it was like, the week after the course finished, I peed on a stick, and it was positive. It's just like crazy. I'm not saying that her course got me pregnant.
That's for sure.
Big
Disclaimer, one woman got engaged, another one got a ton of money in her business, she got pregnant, you receive whatever you need.
Results are guaranteed.
Results are not guaranteed.
Just close Zhanna.
But it's about being receptive.
Yeah, and it is. It's about letting go of all the expectations and the pressure that we put on ourselves, and letting go of trying to micromanage and control every step of our journey, and letting go. And instead of trying to make it happen, just letting it happen. And it's this word surrender. It has been a trigger word for me in the past, because sometimes I feel like surrendering, I used to think that surrender meant just being passive and just being a pushover and a victim and just letting people walk all over you and being passive. But no, surrender is an active word. Surrendering to the flow of your life means allowing things to happen. It means using your internal compass, your intuition as your guide, instead of constantly seeking all the answers outside of yourself through taking more courses and following more experts and going to more workshops and conferences. No, it's like accepting the fact that you have all the wisdom inside of you. And on top of that, we're constantly being guided by, whatever you believe in. I believe that there's a bigger source out there that is this energetic source of love that we are all tapped into. It's this force of creation. It's a cyclical process. You can call it God, you can call it universe, you can call it source, you can call it vibes, energy, like whatever resonates with you. But that's what I believe in, and I'm learning to let go of this linear. So I like to think of energy as either linear or cyclical. You might have also heard masculine versus feminine energy. We have both, we have all. It's not necessarily a duality. They're not mutually exclusive, but our society operates on a linear framework, especially when Ella was talking about life in Europe. It's like people just know how to enjoy life in Europe more. They're a little more chill, relaxed. And in the US, we have this culture of achievement. It's so funny that you were talking about that before, because I literally took notes on, America, the United States. It was founded on this principle of making it happen, on going after your dreams, of taking a stand, of being a self-made man or a self-made woman. And so we're, 250 years later, there's still inequality that we're ignoring and bypassing, and we're all just stressed out and burned out and feeling like we're constantly not good enough. And we don't know how to relax. We don't know how to have fun. We don't know how to take care of ourselves without feeling guilty. And it's just kind of this thing that I'm just like, no.
Before and we're all laughing.
I was like, which is funny. So what I'm realizing as literally I was just reflecting to my husband the other night that if you look at my business on paper from statistics this year, my worst fear that I had last summer of my business collapsing and going down the drains and not growing while I grow a baby, it's kind of coming true in a way because I made the choice to center and focus and prioritize the experience of being pregnant and my own self-care this year over my business. And at first I had a lot of conflict over that, a lot of the virus of oh, but you need to make more money. How are you going to afford a baby? You're racking up credit card debt, like all this stuff. Because I've attached my worth to what I do and my achievements my whole life, but I'm learning how to detach from that and be okay with just being present. And you know what? I am working so few hours, but my business is not collapsing at all. It's evolving and it's growing as I grow. And I know that what I'm experiencing this year is just a season of life that is going to get me to the next season of life, to the next level. And so when I think of the phrase, letting it happen, I really love, there's a quote by Ariana Huffington that goes, life is a dance between making it happen and letting it happen. And I love that quote so much because so often we focus on the making it happen, on what's going to be realistic, or what's the strategy, what's the plan, what's the action steps, what do I need to do to get from point A to point B. And we neglect to remember that there's a whole universe out there that is also, there's people, there's clients, we're part of this ecosystem. We're not these little isolated robots. You can't just make things happen. You also have to understand that the universe and the world, everything is conspiring to support you and meet you halfway. Even with, the analogy of finding clients, if you have a service-based business, it's like, where am I gonna find my next client? Yeah, you can chase them and find them, but remember that your ideal client is also seeking you. Whether or not they're consciously, actively seeking you, they have a need and they don't even know you exist. And so shifting out of this making it happen and more into a balance between making it happen and letting it happen means practicing trust, practicing the active art of surrender, surrendering to listening to your intuition and your heart, surrendering to the season of life that you're in, but also taking action from a place of what feels good and what's aligned for you, not what your ego thinks you should do just because it sounds good, not from a place of just surface level actions that you're taking to avoid the deeper work that might be more uncomfortable, right? It means dropping in, dropping deeper, and trusting yourself. I also like the analogy of being a lighthouse versus being a tugboat. So both are very important, right? Both serve great purposes. We don't want to be tugboats. What a tugboat does is it chugs. It's a little boat that chugs out to the big boats, and it pulls the big boats into the dock. And a lot of times I feel like we operate like tugboats. We're trying to help everyone else. We're trying to save everyone else. We're trying to make it harder because we feel like we need to earn our money. We need to earn our time. We need to earn people's love. We need to earn our whatever sense of self-worth, whatever your crazy brain is telling you. We make it hard. We make it so complicated for ourselves. But I invite you to think of a lighthouse instead of being a lighthouse. So a lighthouse stands firm on the rock. It does not move. it shines its light out into the darkness, and the light is so bright that it either calls the ships in to safety, or it repels the ships and warns of danger. And this is how we should be living our lives, just grounded in our truth and what is true for us, not judging ourselves, shining your light so bright. You know, it's like that quote, I'd rather be someone's shot of whiskey than everyone's cup of tea. It's like, we're gonna have haters. People are gonna judge you. Like, that's just a fact, unfortunately. We're judgy, humans are judgy, and not everyone's gonna understand what you do. If you are truly living from your heart, not everyone's gonna get it. Not everyone has to get it. If you try and please everyone, you're gonna please no one. All the Pinterest quotes. But that's the whole point. You don't wanna try and be making yourself so small just to make everyone else happy that the people who need you don't know how to find you because they can't see your light. Right? Don't dim your light. Shine the freaking light. Be a lighthouse, not a tugboat. I love that analogy and that visual. So, life is a dance between making it happen and letting it happen. I saw another in your journal guide right now. We're going to go through and spend a minute filling out the first prompt, which, what does it say? Yeah. Where are you exhibiting impatience in your life and work? Where have you been pushing through or trying to force things to happen or control the outcome? So where have you been trying to make it happen, but in a way that you're just like hitting a wall? Where have you been trying to rush things? I was at yoga this morning, feeling guilty because I thought I should be doing something for work instead of being at yoga. And I read something that said, patience doesn't exist. Patience is a myth. There's either being in the flow of your life, or there's being impatient trying to rush through life. And when we think we need to work on patience, it means that we're just trying to suppress our own impatience. So how can you just let go of the impatience and the rush to get to where you want to be? Just let yourself surrender to the flow of your life. So that's the deeper meaning behind this first journal prompt. But just take a minute and just jot down whatever first comes to your mind. If you need a pen, do you have extra pens?
Yes. I have one. That's what I did. Put it, yeah. Julia, thank you. We're grabbing on something in there. You know, I went to the store, you know, I got some pens, guys. I got nuts. That was my virus brain. Oh, you totally distracted me with the pens. What? We're all imperfectly perfect, just the way we are. I don't even have a pen here. Come on. They thought I brought my notebook, but I guess
Yeah, so just off the top of your head, can you identify a point or a part of your life right now where you've been trying to just push through, or you've been putting pressure on yourself to get there already, or maybe you've been putting shame on yourself or feeling like you should be farther than you are already? That's my thing. It's another great lesson of pregnancy. It's like, you don't just get pregnant and have a baby. Like, it takes so much time. And there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to let it happen.
This is a good one. I'll share. Which one? So I had a vision last year to host a Bali retreat, and I found a beautiful space, and I really sat with it. And I had people that are really interested in coming. It was supposed to be at the end of June this year, and I already have my trip planned. It's a 3-week trip. I was going to stay for 2 weeks, really get all into the Zen vibes and drop in for everybody and just destroy them for 3 full days of ascension. And I still intend to do that, but I really sat with it and I said, like, what's going on here? Something felt out of whack for me. And I realized that what was coming through for me was, you need to go there and you need to do this for you right now. And then be in that space, be in that energy, really drop into where that ideal space for you to host that event is, and there's still more to be revealed about what you need to take your people through next year. And I said, okay. Because my normal way of being is I'm just going to push through, I'm going to launch it, I'm going to do the thing, and it's still going to be great, but it just wouldn't have felt amazing. And so I decided to, for the first time, say, no, I'm going to wait till next year, and I'm going to do it. Not that I would have done it wrong, but I'm going to do it from such a place of deep connection and certainty, and the results will be tenfold. And so that was really powerful. I decided that last month.
Beautiful. Yeah. Does anyone else have something super clear to come up? But if you're just like, I can't think of anything, don't. That's the thing maybe that you're trying to push through, is trying to think of the perfect answer. Yeah. No, it's just to get you thinking. And just like have in the back of your mind now, whenever you catch yourself getting frustrated with yourself, or just like, yeah, putting that pressure on, trying to make it happen when the timing isn't right. In the back of your mind, you can catch yourself and be like, oh, how can I surrender? How can I just see what unfolds, and where's the path of least resistance here? And sometimes it means leaning into the resistance and doing the damn thing anyway. And sometimes it means the timing is just not right, or you're not the right person for this right now. It's just how can you let it happen instead of trying to make it happen.
Your song, just let it happen. I just don't know what it is. It's a song that speaks to that.
So when we get too focused on trying to make things happen, we create this imbalance between the trying to make it happen and letting it happen. And that imbalance for a lot of high-achieving women triggers perfectionism, triggers our control, our need for control. And perfectionism and being a control freak, type A person, those are two symptoms that are rooted in fear. Fear that is holding us back. And so every single fear we can think of can be traced back to two core human fears that we all deal with because we're human. Those are the fear of not being loved, or the fear of not being enough. And for me, and just you think about this too, is for me the fear of not being loved manifests as fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of people not understanding me, fear that I'm going to launch a workshop with Zhanna and no one's going to sign up because no one cares about us. It's that fear that I'm not being seen for who I am. And that's a very fundamental fear because as humans, we're community-driven people. We can't survive on our own, or we will die out in the wilderness, right? It's like we're wired for connection, so that's a big fear. The other fear of not being enough. For me, that manifests as just feeling like I'm never good enough, like literally, or fear of failure, fear of putting myself out there, doing my best, and it's still not enough. So take a second now, we're going to move on to the second prompt, and just kind of jot down at the top of your head. So what are a few of your biggest fears right now? Just make a list, and then see if you can connect them back to the fear of not being enough, or the fear of not being loved, or not. It doesn't matter. This is just a philosophy that I believe in. Yes.
I'll share one that, so they come up and I just tell them to go sit down and keep going. But part of that I realized is kind of like spiritual bypassing or coaching bypassing, where I never really shared them because I'm like, no, I just handle it and move forward. But it's important to share. And as I was sharing, I lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Damn, it was so good. See, it's just gone already. I already wiped it clean.
It's gone.
It's gone. It'll come back to me. It was so good. Again, I think it was that I could ever possibly screw this up. That I could ever fail. That is actually the biggest delusion, is what I realized that we all have, that we could ever fail. Because even if it doesn't work, it's exactly what needed to happen to grow you. So it's I can't mess this up.
Yeah.
Manifesting as, if you do it, you might do it wrong.
Right.
Like even standing up in front of all of you today, that I could, did I do enough? Did they get everything they needed? All of that place, even though inherently, in my being, I know, But I always want to overgive.
So,
because
yeah,
I feel
that perfectionism too,
Yeah.
and it's like that feeling like I'm not enough, I need to give more. Is it, you know, did I check all the boxes, did I do everything? Yeah. Or like my fear that I was talking about not being able to grow my business and also have a baby, you know, that's also rooted in the fear of not being enough, where it's like and that's true, like I am not gonna have enough energy to do all the things, but that just means that life will rearrange itself. And it brings us into the next topic that I'm gonna chat about, which is embracing cycles of life and seasons of life versus the timeline of life. Yeah, but before we get there, does anyone have a fear that they would like to share? Fear circle!
I was on so much easier than the first one.
Yeah.
This one was, I felt like it was harder.
Really?
I
know.
I had a number of fears come up. Some were very speaking to what you were saying, like fear of failure, fears that others will beat me to what I'm trying to do, so competition, I guess. Fear of not being able to express my truth, which comes out in many ways. And one that I wrote at the end here, which this one I'm not sure which fear it connects to, is fear of life going too quickly and not enjoying those I love. And that's really connected to my kids because they're growing so fast.
Yeah.
And so not being with them enough.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And also my grandparents were miraculously still alive,
Yeah.
but not spending enough time with them.
Yeah.
Is that
They're so
fear
far.
of missing out? Maybe.
Yeah, just fear of not having enough time to do all the things and be with other people, and
Yeah.
fear of loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is totally
Yeah.
but it still sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's real. It's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are gonna die, and our kids are gonna grow up. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like
Yeah, like I have this crazy fear, like I'm a very nostalgic person,
Yeah.
so I obsess a lot about like the past and time going by too quickly, and it's something
Yeah.
I'm very obsessed with.
Yeah.
So
I feel that.
yeah.
I think a fear of mine of moving out of corporate and into my own thing is that my quality of life is going to go down. That I'm not going to be able to afford the home that I live in. I'm not going to be able to afford to go get like the luxuries that I have right now. And yeah, so, and right then there's that fear of like, maybe I won't make any money over here, so I should just stay quote unquote safe
Yeah.
over here. And so I guess that's one of my fears or limiting
Yeah.
beliefs. I also have a fear of being dependent on anybody but myself. So the fact of my husband being at the initial stage of me starting a business and not having a backup money of my full-time job right now, the fear of being solely dependent on him for a majority of the financials, and currently I'm the breadwinner of the relationship, so that is a pretty big fear for me.
Yeah.
It's like the fear of time, and like I've spent, you know, my life up until here being super successful at what I do. And if I do something else, what if I'm not as successful? What if, you know, what if I've been actually just faking it this whole time and like getting to where I am now?
Yeah.
And if I go by myself, then there's not like,
crash and burn.
yeah, I'm not actually good at anything. I don't know.
Oh, I love that. It's kind of like the, I feel like a front pit.
Yeah, the imposter complex.
Yeah.
It's like someone is gonna call me out for being a face, and there's like,
It's like,
yeah. Thank you guys for sharing and being vulnerable. So we're not gonna go into it right now for the sake of time, but the next prompt is really, really, really important for you to do, which is because I want to move you out of the fear instead of, because it's easy to spiral to like, the fear overwhelm. And that is, what is the truth on the flip side of the fear? Because our fears are signs that we are on our edge, right? Like fear is actually a good thing. There's a book, if you guys like reading personal development, there's a book you probably have not heard of that I love called The Art of Fear by Kristen something, but just Google The Art of Fear. She was the first female extreme skier, like the crazy people that like ski off cliffs and do tricks, and she was addicted to fear, like adrenaline junkie. She wrote a whole book on how fear, it can be our friend, right? It's not necessarily something evil that we need to overcome. overcome. It can be something that we just accept into part of our life and just view the positive. And a lot of the positives of the fear is that there's a truth underneath it. That's why I love writing out the fear, because there's something about the physical processes, getting out of your head, get back into grounding, is literally writing with a pen and paper our fear. It's the fear out of our head, where it's booming around and magnified and creating our reality, and it puts it into the actual world. And sometimes that's all it takes to let it go poof, is writing it down and realizing this is bullshit. Like, I don't actually believe in this at all. This is silly. Or maybe it's an aha moment of, wow, this is something very deep and profound that I might need to seek some support through a friend or a coach or a therapist in order to unravel this, right? It could go either way. But a lot of times, as soon as you write down the fear, a lot of times your intuition, your deep inner knowing will automatically, it's like the flip side of what Zhanna has to do of like, what's your dream? Okay, it's like instant negativity. Flip side, it's like instant positivity of you immediately see the truth behind it, right? So for example, my fear of not being able to grow my business and chase my dreams while I'm raising a family and having a baby, which is also my two core biggest life dreams, are mutually exclusive. That's my biggest fear. The truth I know is that there's freaking millions of women, like there's women right here who are rocking their lives and raising kids, and and it might mean that I don't do it all at once, but I have the rest of my life. And it's like I know all these truths that come up where it's like it's okay to focus on my baby for a year. It's okay to let the business slow down. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's like all of these counter truths. And so that's what I want you to think about is, what is the counter truth that's on the flip side of your fear? So if your fear is, I'm going to quit my job and chase my dreams and then like fall flat on my face and have an existential crisis, the truth, there's another option of, what if you're wildly successful at chasing your freaking dreams and you realize that everything in life has gotten you to this moment and you are so worthy of it and it works out? It's like we're always so fast to jump to the worst case scenario, but what if we live the best case scenario? Or like maybe, we've been talking about career and business, but maybe it's a relationship that you're really seeking is someone who can see you and honor you and share life with you. And it's like, oh my gosh, never gonna find someone. They're all douchebags and I'm gonna be alone forever. Well, what if your soulmate is, you're gonna meet him next or her next week? It's like there's also all these possibilities. So it's important for us to get out of the fear and practice living and leaning into the possibility that things might actually work out, or that we will face our biggest fears and we won't die. Or we do die and then it doesn't even matter because we're dead.
That's fabulous.
Okay, so that's my thing on the flip side of fear. All right, so I know we're going over time a little bit, so if you have to head out, feel free. But I do want to finish by introducing the concept of living with the seasons and the ebb and flow of life, the letting it happen, making it happen. There's going to be seasons of hustle. There's going to be seasons where you need to sacrifice your self-care in order to take your business to the next level. There's going to be seasons where you need to stretch yourself financially, maybe go into debt or take out a loan or be dependent on someone else in order to get yourself to the next level. There's going to be seasons where you let the business go in order to focus on your family, right? It's this cycles of life, and it ties into, as women, our menstrual cycle, which we're never taught about except for how to avoid getting pregnant and how to get pregnant. But it goes, our hormones control so much. They control our energy, they control our moods, they control our productivity, our creativity, how we feel about ourselves. Our physical bodies controls our weight, our breakouts, whether or not we have kids. It's our hormones control our lives. And a lot of times we end up feeling like we are just psycho, crazy people because we feel like a different person at different times of the month, or something is wrong or imbalanced with our hormones, and so we just take medication or something. to just like control the symptoms. We view our hormones as something that's either making us crazy or something that is unhealthy that needs to be fixed by taking a drug. But I want to introduce the concept of leaning into your own inner cycles and the seasons of your cycle and applying that to how you show up in life, to give yourself permission to find the times when you need to lean in and make it happen versus rest and lean back and focus on yourself. And if you are on birth control or you don't have a cycle, like I don't have a cycle right now, obviously, that's totally fine too. You can also think of this as the seasons of the year, like the bigger cycles of the year. Like here in Chicago is a perfect example. We get one warm sunny day and everyone goes crazy and everyone on the road is like honking and people are like outside on the patios and everyone is like, oh, there's actually people who live here. Versus in the winter, we're just all depressed. And that's, or we leave, or we get out of Dodge. So there's the seasons of the year, just giving yourself permission to ebb and flow the seasons of the year. Like maybe spring and summer is when you launch new things in your business because you have more creative energy and it's more fun. And fall and winter are when you do give yourself permission to hibernate and be antisocial and watch a lot of Netflix and not feel guilty about it. And maybe gain some weight by eating delicious food. Because you know in the spring and summer, you're going to be more active again, you're going to be more motivated again, letting your body ebb and flow. You know, it's whatever it looks like for you. Or if you're into the moon cycle is full moon, new moon, 28 days, sort of like a woman's cycle. I don't personally track the moon, but I always tune into the full moon and the new moon because it is kind of fun to tune into. Same thing. So you can see on the back here, this is the cycle. This is the seasons, the cycle of our lives. And this can be a tool, like a built-in GPS system. And it's called the Map of the Two Vayas. This is taken from a book called Wild Power. If you're interested in tapping into your feminine energy, highly recommend. But you can see here at the top of the cycle, at the peak, this is ovulation. This is the peak of our cycle. Around the time we ovulate is when we are more magnetic and outgoing because physiologically our bodies are trying to make baby. And so it's kind of funny, but you are going to be more magnetic. Like even hormonally and chemically, you know, you're putting out these pheromones trying to attract a mate. How does this apply to business? It's great. It's a great time to launch. It's a great time to go live, to communicate, to do like a workshop, or a great time to put yourself out there and be more visible because you are going to feel like you're in your full goddess, radiant, feminine, female power. Like sexual energy, you might notice that you're more easily turned on around the time you ovulate. Yeah, that's because so the human species can survive. So we have sex at the right time to make babies, or like avoid making the babies. And so if you're using the moon cycle, this kind of looks like a full moon, right? It's like a white circle. So this is the time of the full moon, where you know urban myths and legends or stereotypes of the full moon is just like, and there's even I think. There's even a higher intake in hospital admissions during full moons. I think I've read that statistic because people go a little nuts during the full moon. It's light outside later, or it's the energy, the power. It's a very powerful, potent time. That's why I said the peak, and it's called the power of presence because it's a time to be fully present, a time to just kind of pause and be out there. Seasonally, it's the season of summer, time to be out there. And then we move down towards the bottom, which is the new moon, so black sky, new beginnings, or the week of menstruation when we're on our period, when it's like the opposite. We're going to be out and about. You just want to like eat chocolate and have a heating pad, sit on the couch. And so that is also called the power of presence because it's also a time to pause and be present, but instead of an outward make things happen way, this is the time where we let things happen and we focus on ourselves. And chemically, our brain chemistry when we're on our periods, if you're not on hormonal birth control, it is the time when your left brain and your right brain have the most communication, and you're going to be able to be more connected to the bigger picture of your vision. So it's a really great time to meditate, to big picture goal set intentions, to focus on the behind the scenes creative work, or to just freaking rest. Because the more you can rest, the more energy you're gonna have later on in the month to burn. So it's another power of presence. And you'll see then the arrow moves up, power of agency, power of encounter. These are just powers words that the women who, from the Red School website, terminology they have made up. But I really like it because it also reminds us that spring and autumn. So if ovulation, full moon, if that is summer, then the opposite of summer is winter, time of rest and renewal. Self-care, something that will tend to be really bad at, putting ourselves first, giving ourselves a couple days off. You can just take the first day of your period off to just rest as much as possible. It's gonna benefit you for the entire rest of the month. You're gonna have less emotional breakdowns, you're gonna have less PMS, you might have less cramps. It's kind of crazy. You can set those boundaries. But that leaves the seasons of spring, so coming out of winter back into spring, and the seasons of autumn, the via negativa, which is coming from summer back into winter. And these are also very powerful seasons of change and transition where the weather's a little crazy. Like it's been this spring, it's crazy. We don't know if it's summer or winter, and there's storms and there's hail. Same thing like if you think of PMS or think of the season of autumn when all the leaves drop, and again, there's more thunderstorms and just like crazy weather, and we might get mood swings or just have PMS symptoms and feel a little psycho and crazy. You know, it's part of the seasons, and it's a message. Like even if your inner critic flares up the week before your period, existential crisis, it's a time to really pause again and get curious about what's coming up for you, and just give yourself some extra space to go a little deeper instead of trying to just push through it and show up and make things happen. It's like, what's the inner wisdom there in your inner critic, in your PMS girl? So that is just a little sneak peek. If you want to learn more about cycle awareness, I have a free ebook on my website, and my business card info is in the little goodie bags that you can download. But I think it's really cool to start giving ourselves permission to let go of the pressure to constantly achieve, and give ourselves space to get to know who we are deep down, what we want deep down, where we're holding ourselves back, what desires are on our hearts, and to create structures, like all about the structure, like Zhanna was saying, in our lives that are going to support us in really embracing the season of life that we're in, giving ourselves permission to just really be where we're at, even if it's uncomfortable, even if we can't wait to have it all figured out. There's beauty in the mess, in the process. And so we're creative beings. We're constantly giving birth to new things, whether it's a project or work or idea or relationship or an actual baby. And so what if we could just trust it's all going to unfold perfectly, and where you are is where you need to be right now. The end. Thank you so much. Yeah, and like I said, if you want to learn more about working together with me or the stuff I do, it's on the website.
Yeah, and I'll send out an email recapping everything so you have everything that you need, because everybody that registered, I have your emails. And if you want